Okay, everybody, and can I just welcome you all to our very important webinar today. And just as the delegates are starting to come in, I'd like to welcome you all to our Women in Maritime Affairs webinar. It's an important area. Before I sort of go in and introduce our excellent panel today, we're going to be looking forward to some good debate about the whole issue of women in maritime. It is a very emotive subject, and it's certainly something that Jamaica has put forward as one of its priorities as it looks to secure election to the IMO Council again for 2022-2023. And I think really, before we sort of go into too much detail, I quote from the International Maritime Organization's website, why do we need to have gender balance within shipping? The IMO is quite clear that there is ample evidence that investing in women is the most effective way to lift communities, companies, and even countries. Countries with more gender equality have better economic growth, and companies with more women leaders perform better. And actually, an interesting statistic, which has been banded around actually as we've been getting prepared for this webinar today, that today women represent only 2% of the world's 1.2 million seafarers, and 94% of female seafarers are working in the cruise industry. So it's a very, very sort of historically a male-dominated industry. And I think what we want to really try and talk about today is the importance of this, and really, how we can actually, bridge that gap there with making shipping an industry that is open to all, not only but women, but also the young. The industry is changing, and it is accelerating into the future, and it's a very exciting industry to be in. So just as a note to the participants who are coming in as well, you will see that you have a Q&A facility on the screen there in front. So please, we do welcome your questions. And you also have a chat facility which the panelists will be able to see. So please be kind to the panelists if you have any comments you want to make on the chat. But we will, any questions that are coming through, I will be looking to raise throughout the debate. The debate will last an hour. And please, it is important that you do take part and you do become involved in this. It is a very, very emotive subject. So thank you very much indeed. I'd like to introduce the panelists now. The first panelist we have, Mrs. Cora Ann Sylvester. Cora is chairman of the Maritime Authority of Jamaica. She was educated at Campion College, University of the West Indies, and the Norwegian Shipping Academy and the United Nations UNCTAD Trainmar Instructors Workshop. She's Chief Executive Officer of Seaboard Freight and Shipping Jamaica Limited. From 2000 to 2003, she was Vice President of the Caribbean Shipping Association. I think that's correct, Cora Ann. And the CSA is an association established in 1971 to facilitate the development of an efficient and viable Caribbean shipping industry. She has been a director of Jamaica Freight and Shipping since 1998, Assessment Recoveries since 2006, and Port Computer Services Limited since 2019. She also served as a director of the Port Authority of Jamaica from 2007 to 2012. And from 2016 to 20, she was a member of the Caribbean Maritime University Council, and in January was appointed to the council. She was also in May 2016 appointed to the board of Maritime Authority of Jamaica and has served as the chair since. So welcome, Cora Ann. We look forward to your comments throughout the next hour. Our next panelist is Dr. Hortense Ross Inararity, Superintendent of Pilotage at the Port Authority of Jamaica. I've already had a couple of minutes with Hortense, and she's got some very, very good points to talk about as far as recruitment and retention is concerned. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your comments on that, Hortense. Hortense is a two-time graduate of the Caribbean Maritime Institute. She started her career in 1985, first as a navigation officer, and later in 1996 as a graduate of the International Shipping and Logistics Program. In addition to her program of studies at CMI, she studied maritime management at master's level, at the international business at the doctorate level, achieving her diplomas from Fairfax University and the International Open University in 2002 and 2009. Between 1990 to 1998, Hortense served as an assistant marine operations coordinator at Petrojam before joining the Port Authority of Jamaica in March 1998 as the first female superintendent of pilotage, a position she currently holds. She is a companion member of the Institute of Management Specialists in the UK and previously held membership in the following in the International Institute of Business Analysis in Canada, United States Association of Small Businesses and Entrepreneurship, and the International Coach Academy in Australia. Then we come on to Miss Kerry-Ann Tulloch, who is attorney at law and a maritime expert. Hi, Kerry-Ann. Nice to see you.
Hi, Sean.
Attorney at law with over 20 years experience. She's in private practice and was called to the bar in both Jamaica and Barbados, and has a special interest and area of expertise in admiralty and maritime law and shipping. Just really going through here, a chance encounter led to her applying to the then Jamaica Maritime Institute as part of their inaugural year for the Diploma of Shipping and Logistics in 1994. She has a love of all things maritime, but I suppose like we all do, Kerry-Ann, actually. And she moved on to reading for her master's degree with distinction in international maritime law and legislative drafting from the IMO International Maritime Law Institute in Malta. You were the first Jamaican to attain this qualification, and you were then immediately drafted into then the Ministry of Transport and Works of Jamaica, where you were instrumental in your role as a legal officer for the Maritime Administration Project Unit in the passage of the Shipping Act 1998 and the establishment of the Maritime Authority of Jamaica. In your private practice in Kingston, you advise on shipping and admiralty issues and focus on conveyancing, corporate, commercial, and probate matters. Kerry-Ann, we look forward to your comments throughout the debate. We're also very, very pleased to have Ms. Sheba Mckenzie, Chief Officer of Navigation at the Port Authority of Jamaica. Sheba, from very humble beginnings, entered the maritime industry straight out of high school, attended the Caribbean Maritime Institute, now the Caribbean Maritime University, Faculty of Nautical Studies and Sciences. After completing her first year in the classroom, she joined a vessel called the Coldstream as a deck cadet. 1 year later, that adventure ended. I like it. It's an adventure, Sheba, absolutely. And she went back to the classroom to complete her third year of maritime training in order to get your third mate's ticket. You graduated in 2006 with an associate degree in nautical sciences. And for more than 10 years, you've traveled the world working on merchant vessels. Now retired from international travel and work and ship, this woman of God, mother of one beautiful 5-year-old daughter, holds out her position as a mate at the Port Authority of Jamaica. There is no limit to what this woman can do. Her purpose must be fulfilled on this earth. What a lovely CV, absolutely lovely CV there, Sheba, and welcome as well today. So I'm going to go straight on to Cora-Ann. Now, the whole issue of women in maritime, Cora-Ann, is very, very emotive, and certainly I think with issues like the environment and digitalization, I suppose, are sort of really at the forefront of the shipping industry's point of view at the moment. But what are your views on it? Why is it so important, do you think? And certainly for a maritime island like Jamaica, why is it important? Why is women in maritime important?
Good morning, Sean. Saying hello to everybody. I can't see who is there, but thank you very much for joining. Really pleased that I could be part of this panel and that you're here with us. Going straight to your question, Jamaica is an island. We're surrounded by water. So it is just natural that everything maritime affects us, you know. Kerry says she has a love for everything maritime, but for Jamaica, the sea is our life. And it's very important that women are involved in the process. We have been very fortunate in Jamaica that so many women are already in the business and it's growing. In the offices, in my office, which is the private practice, majority of the people there are women. I will say that on the port, where we have a team, that still remains a male-dominated industry. But, you know, the women are the movers and shakers in my office. You know, of the 7 management team, 4 of those are women. And, you know, we're very vibrant, and we bring to the business our dedication, our ability to multitask. And in the logistics business, you have to be able to multitask. Yeah. So for Jamaica, going back to the point, you know, why is the woman important to the maritime sector? It's very important. We run Jamaica. You know, we have a lot of women that are single mothers, and the maritime business has given the women the ability to make a living from humble backgrounds, and they be able to look after their family. And it's important. And we're good at our jobs. You know, in my organization, you know, we are problem solvers. I mean, you know, in the day-to-day world where, you know, you're missing a shipment, you can't find it, the paperwork is late, you know, we're able to solve the problem, get it all organized, and get the job done. And I'm very proud to say that Jamaica, in the Jamaican environment, we have a lot of women in the sector. There's some sectors that we don't have as much as we could, but definitely in the sector that I represent, there are a lot of women.
Now, Cora, let me just bring you up on a couple of things there. I mean, you are chair of the Maritime Authority of Jamaica. You know, you hold a very, very important role there. But certainly, you know, this whole concentration on women in maritime is also crucial to Jamaica's accession onto the IMO Council. And I'll come on a little bit later about the role that the international community can play as well. But from an MAJ's point of view, you know, what sort of initiatives are you looking at to really encourage more women to come into shipping? Because it is a great industry, it is a great career, but there are challenges, aren't there? I mean, shipping needs to sell itself as much as anything else.
Just as information, at the MAJ, there are 29 women and 18 men. So we definitely are dominant at the Maritime Authority of Jamaica. What we have realized and what we have done is the Deputy Director, Claudia Grant, she was one of 2 people who started an organization in Jamaica, Women in Maritime, which is an IMO affiliate, to encourage women. And it is run from the Maritime Authority of Jamaica's office. So we support it with our personnel. Claudia, who is a deputy director, she has led that program from the inception. And all of the background work is done through the MAJ. So we reach out to the Jamaican community in various ways, having seminars, webinars. We have supported women with scholarships, encouraging in various ways. So the MAJ has been at the forefront of encouraging women. In fact, the first meeting was held in Jamaica.
Right, right. Well, thank you, Coran. And just to touch on that, I mean, Claudia, you know, is an excellent ambassador for Jamaica as well internationally. And I know at the moment that she's chairing a working group or a subcommittee at the IMO, isn't she, on the Triple I? So she's chairing that at the moment.
Yes. That organization deals with the flag state and port state matters. Yeah. And she's a dynamo. You know, she's a small lady, but she has a lot of clout, and she definitely takes the passion to the IMO from Jamaica.
I'll come back to you. I'm going to go on to Hortense now, and Hortense, welcome. Now, you mentioned that you were the first superintendent of pilotage there, or first pilotage officer there at the Port Authority. Do you want to give me a little bit of an indication on, you know, the challenges that you faced when you were coming into the industry, but also the opportunities that are there, and why this whole issue of promoting women in maritime is crucial at this time? Give me your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Sean. Yes, I'm the first female superintendent of pilotage, but my journey actually started in '85 when I enrolled at the then Jamaica Maritime Training Institute. At that time, it was a very new and noble career profession for female, but it was for me adventurous. I see it as an adventure and a challenge, and also to be a pioneer in the industry at the time. Having progressed through that and of the experience of working on board ships, it gives me a unique vision into what it would be like to be shoreside as well. So what I did was to devise a personal development plan to say, this is my pathway, this is the career path I will choose. And I eventually wanted to become a maritime administrator. So I finished my class 3 as I served as an officer on board ships before coming ashore to work at Petrojam Limited in the Marine Operations Department. It was while at Petrojam that I pursued the logistics course at Caribbean Maritime Institute. And then it opened my eyes to potential opportunities, and I targeted the Port Authority of Jamaica as my next stop. And I was fortunate to be employed in 1998 as the first female superintendent of pilotage. Having said that, this is a male-dominated industry, so all the pilots are males. And at the time I was 32, I think I was 32 when I was engaged. So here I am as a young female being in charge of 28 grown men in a profession that was well established. So my strategy was to use communication and sharing of information to bring awareness to the benefits that can be had if we move in unison to achieve a common objective. For the first 5 years, it was very challenging, but I managed to get the buy-in from the pilots. I was very well supported by the harbor master, who is my supervisor. And together we were able to create new initiatives, new strategies, new buy-ins to get the men, the pilots, to support the initiatives and strategies that I initiated to provide an efficient pilotage service. In addition to that, I saw my role as being a mentor, an influence and inspiration to young women coming into the industry to say, if this is a career path that you choose, be aware of the challenges, but be prepared. Follow your dreams, be strong, be persistent, set high standards for yourself, and produce the result, because really and truly, we are judged by the result and not by potential. For women, we're judged by our experience or track record and not on potential. As opposed to the male, we tend to recruit based on their potential, and that's something that we need to change, really.
I know there's some good points there. I think you mentioned to me earlier that the whole issue about recruitment and retention, and I think recruitment is a key element, because it's not only, you know, reaching out to a sector of the community that isn't necessarily looking to shipping for a career, but also to the young as well. I mean, you know, shipping needs to invest in the people for the future. You know, this is really, really important. And on a country like Jamaica, and you know, I've been over there. I've worked with the MAJ, you know, through Elaborate here for 18, 19 years now, and but is it something that is that comes across as being an exciting opportunity? Would you say, Hortense, because of the growth of the industry on the island? I mean, it does offer a lot of opportunity.
Yes, I think it offers a great opportunity. We are currently living in the 4th industrial revolution, where automation, use of internet is driving initiatives and improvements in shipping. So it is no longer male dominated in terms of what is expected. It is now gender neutral. So opportunities are there for female. What we need to do is to create the awareness, share the information, promote the successes of women already in the industry, and use it as an inspiration to motivate others to join, and also to expose them to the different opportunities that are available within the industry, not just on board ships, but also ashore. There are myriad of opportunities now because the technology is there. When I started many, many years ago, over 30 years ago, ships were spending days in port, days, months at sea. Now, because of technology, larger ships, they are faster. Ships are spending less time in port, less time in sea, and we're using automation to drive. What we have now, for example, we're hearing about smart ships and smart port. So we're now in a situation where it's gender neutral. It's not about being a female or a male. It is about getting the job done. So the recruitment aspect of it, we first have to create awareness, then get acceptance, then we have inclusion, then we acknowledge performances, and then we promote. That's how we move from the classroom to being ashore or on board ship.
Thank you, Hortense. I'm going to come back to you on a few of the points when we open up the debate a little bit wider in a second, and certainly on that aspect of gender neutrality, because I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's all about getting people in. I'm going to come on to Carrie Ann now. Hi, Carrie Ann.
Hi, Sean. Morning.
Morning and welcome. And I just really wanted to get your sort of your aspects. I mean, the legal sector. I mean, you know, my daughter's a lawyer. You know, and she's gone into you know, on the sort of family side and what have you. But for me to go around to her and say you should go into shipping law, she would sort of say, well, why, Dad? You know, and I think lawyers have a lot of opportunity. But certainly, talk to me a little bit about it from the legal perspective, getting into the industry as a woman as well.
So my perspective is always going to be colored by the fact that I'm a Jamaican woman, and I am fortunate. From the point of view that Jamaican women are accustomed to leadership. We are the majority of managers in Jamaica, in the country. In fact, Jamaica is the #1 country in terms of female to male ratio of managers. I believe we have, in a study that was done in 2015, using data from the ILO from 2013. So that's almost 10 years stale dated. That study ranked Jamaica as #1 in female managers with 59.3%. Anecdotally, I can say that I'm pretty sure we have gone way beyond that 59.3%. So in Jamaica, women are expected to lead. We're not expected to stand in the background. We are raised with the expectation that we are the ones who are going to manage and control. Because of that, there is an element of normalization of women in important roles. And we see it across the entire country. We see it in our government offices where many of our permanent secretaries are in fact female. Many of our directors are in fact female. If you look at places like the Port Authority, you will see that, you know, the ratio in the senior management cadre is 3 women to 2 men, the executive management, which plays out that roughly 60% ratio across the board. In my graduating class of law, way back in 1996, our male to female ratio was 70 to 30. And that's in the legal profession. There are far more women in law than men. If you look at our Ministry of Justice or Attorney General or Solicitor General, there's so many, or DPP, all female. So we're accustomed to women leading. And this is why Cora Ann will mention to you that, you know, most of the people in her office are female. This was not always the case, because even though we have for many, many years had women in leadership positions, there are still areas that are considered traditionally male. When I work outside of Jamaica, it's always a shock and a surprise to me that people say, oh, you're a lawyer and you're a woman. Oh, that's so great. I'm always sort of, yes. It's an expectation. It's a normal element of behavior in Jamaica. So with that mindset, nothing was an obstacle for me. And I don't think it's an obstacle in the mindset of many Jamaican women. We are expected to do this. Maritime law is fascinating. It touches on every element of law that you could imagine, but it spins it in a nautical sense. So many of the other areas of law that you study, insurance law, some of the tort, etc., actually contract law arose out of this ancient industry that has existed from the time of the Phoenicians and before. You know, people were treating in international law hundreds of years ago, before there was any sort of Bill of Rights, Magna Carta. You had to figure out how you were going to hold on to deals, strike contracts, understand what you were doing with the Babylonian down the road. You know, you had to cross cultural barriers. And the law, really, the creation of a set of laws is really, the mare libra is really what drove the development of many other elements of law, business, and negotiation over the centuries. It's a fascinating area. It's an area that I think women can excel in. Just to add to what Hortense said and build on it, everything she said is brilliant. Hortense is one of my classmates from Jamaica Maritime Institute back in the day, and always been a strategic thinker. And everything that she said goes to make, what we have to do is normalize the concept of women in the male dominated areas of maritime practice. So the stevedores, for example, you want women to know that's acceptable. Go ahead and do that. Pilotage, that's acceptable. Go ahead and do that. Because frankly, we are taking up, if not parity, then majority in almost every other industry. And we have to do here.
So you touched on a couple of interesting points there, where you're saying that, you know, within the office environment, within companies, 59.3% of managers are women, etc., and probably more now. And then you've got other areas which are traditionally deemed to be male dominated, where you've got to normalize women coming into that industry. The successes that you have achieved in Jamaica, what can the broader shipping industry, and this is relevant because this is part of Jamaica's push to get onto the council at the IMO, you're sitting there with all the member states and all the other flag states. What can the industry in general learn from what you have done here in Jamaica as far as the successes that you have done? But what can it take from that, do you think, the international community?
So I think there are great lessons to be taken from Jamaica. And part of it is expectation and representation. You know, they have this quote where they say representation matters, and it absolutely does. I grew up in an environment where many of, the adults I knew, female, the women I knew, they were in positions of great responsibility in management. They were attorneys, they were doctors of great, acclaim. So I never questioned my ability or the possibilities that were presented to me. And in my travels and interactions with other people globally, because I have traveled quite extensively in the course of my profession and my education, it was news to me that this was not normal everywhere. And so there has to be an expectation and an understanding that women have all the same abilities, and in fact, sometimes bring more to the table, because women manage differently from men. It's not a quality comparison, it's just a difference in approach. And both approaches, I think, are necessary and help to build consensus, broaden communication, and lead to a better style of management in every industry. It has to begin first with the acknowledgement that women are equal to men in every capacity.
I'm just having a little look here. We've got a question coming through here. This is from Bert Smith. Marine pilotage remains a male-dominated area, of the shipping industry. Is there a plan to attract female talent to this part of the industry? So, Hortense, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Thank you for the question. That's a very good question. We at the current do not have, unfortunately, a female marine pilot, but the profession is open to all sexes. All sexes. And my job as superintendent of pilotage is to represent that. Yeah, it is open. I have developed strategies to open it just to anybody who is qualified to be trained as an apprentice pilot. You go through the process, and once you're selected, you're trained. So yes, it is open to female to become marine pilots, and it's a discussion that we'll continue to have. It will require, however, modification to the Pilotage Act in its current form to accommodate, because we have to make provisions for female to create the environment for them to be comfortable and to strive and to grow within this industry. And that's what we want to do in terms of creating change. Because the research has demonstrated, has shown that when you have women in the mix, the bottom line improves. And that's what businesses want. Improvement in their bottom line, improvement in communication, improvement in effectiveness. So yes, it is a direction that we want to go.
I think I'm moving away from the pilotage, but going to the terminal operations. And both at Kingston Wharves and the container terminal, KFTL, there are a lot of women in the mix. It is not the majority, but we definitely have women on the terminal. You know, the head of the terminal manager at Kingston Wharves, Valerie Campbell, she is a woman, and she's a dynamo also. You know, when you go there, when the stevedores are changing their shifts, you know, you realize that they're women because you see them. We need to encourage more women. And I think that the terminal is making the space safe for women. I think their policies are encouraging women to come on board. There are also women in the planning departments, and you know, the women that plan the shifts, plan what's happening with the containers, who give you the information. So it is definitely happening. And I think one of the big things which we must emphasize is that the existence of the Caribbean Maritime University, which started so many years ago, which was gifted to us by the Norwegians, has really played a massive role in where we are in Jamaica with women being involved in our sector. I would say that we definitely are far ahead of many of our Caribbean other Caribbean countries in that regard. Definitely in customs, the women, it's an equal amount of women going into the programs. Logistics, so much, is almost equal. But I think where we have a gap is in the STEM, in the engineering programs, and also with the seafaring programs. And that's where I think that, you know, as women in leaders, we have to push that. And that's something that we're going to have to spend some time on.
I just wanted to say that one of the things that we have to do as women who are already in the maritime sector is, as the popular phrase is, lift as we rise. So everyone who is on this panel with me is already in a mentorship position, has already encouraged other women to come in, and I include myself in that discussion. I am very pro-female empowerment and women being a part of it. But women also have to be the ones to encourage and to lead. Our Women Maritime Jamaica has been very, very instrumental in, back to my favorite buzzword today, normalizing the concept of women being, you know, competent, efficient, effective everywhere. I also wanted to build on that point of the now Caribbean Maritime University. Education has consistently been, when you think of the point I made earlier about how 30 years ago, 25 years ago, the ratio in the legal fraternity of new attorneys was approximately 70% women to 30% men. And in other countries, law is considered a male-dominated industry. That's definitely not the reality in Jamaica. But it is because you had so many female mentors, so many female examples to follow, and so many mothers saying to their children, you're going to become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. Education is what's going to pull you out of it. So we started to see the shift in demographics at the university level, I would say 30, 40 years ago. And that has just been a continuing slide where women are being afforded opportunities, and upon getting the opportunities are rising to the expectation and rising to the challenge and surpassing expectations. So it really is all about making sure that the example is there, the opportunities are there, because I guarantee once those exist, women will fill the gap.
I believe it is a success of female within the industry in Jamaica, where we can be seen as an example to the rest of the world, not just the Caribbean, to the rest of the world, because of the high ratio of women to men within the industry. And we should use this as a leverage to say, why do you think that we have so many women in the industry? Because those that have gone before us has done well. They have done well. It is their success that encourage the managers or the board directors to say, let us recruit more because they are producing the results. And we can use this to leverage to say, this is a model, this is an example. It is working for Jamaica and it can work for other countries.
We're on tenterhooks here, waiting to hear your comments on the what life is like, very much as a woman going through at sea as well, as much as anything else. But you started to tell us a little bit about how you came into the shipping industry. Could you give us a bit of a snapshot on, the challenges you faced, and certainly the opportunities and the opportunities that exist there for women wanting to follow in your footsteps. Do you want to give us some insight?
Yes. So when I joined, it was like a wide world of adventure for me. That's what I was thinking, and I was excited to, get into it. First of all, when I attended the Caribbean Maritime Institute, I was told to do shipping logistics, but the kind of person that I am and my nature, that wasn't good enough for me. And based on my nature, that would not suit me at all. So there was this wide, vast place out there, the sea, and going on ships, and it was very exciting. And so I decided I'm going to sea. It took me quite a long time to get a ship to be a cadet on. And when I did, my first stop was the UK. And as I traveled, persons were like, I'm the only female on board with 18 men. And when I traveled around the Caribbean and persons saw me as a cadet, I have to be in the gangway. So persons would see me in the gangway and they would wonder, like, are you the cook or something? Because, a female on board would in their eyes, would have to be the cook or the stewardess or whatever. But I said, no, I'm a cadet in training to be an officer. And they were like very fascinated with it, but the challenges I faced were, it depends on the nationality of men that you work with, based on their culture. Some of them, it doesn't matter to them. Like in Europe, it's quite fine, but like Middle Eastern countries, they would see, the female would necessarily be the homemaker. But I would encourage any young female right now who loves adventure and wants to go to sea. It's a good career path to take. Just be strong and know that you can do anything that you set your mind to. Don't even think about the naysayers. Just put your best foot forward. It's not for the faint-hearted, but if you know that you mentally you're strong enough to do it, just go ahead. And you know, Arthens, she was there, all the things that she was saying, it was like she was like regurgitating my heart. And since coming to the Port Authority, she has been, yeah, a really good mentor for me. So it's good for the older women to mentor the younger ones like us, to push us, to encourage us and stuff like that, you know?
Sheba, do you think as the industry is changing, and it is changing, we're all embracing digitalization, smart technology is, you know, ramping up in the shipping industry. Do you think that's going to make the task of attracting younger, more diverse people, as and you know, include in there women? But I think we're just talking about the right people coming into the industry. Is it going to make it easier, do you think, because it is changing the way that they may see shipping, rather than an old, you know, dirty industry, you know, where you're away from home for months on end, to something that's a vibrant, fast-moving industry of the 21st, 22nd century? What are your thoughts?
Yes, I think so, because this new generation, they're like the techies, and they love all this internet and cyber stuff. So sometimes you might say to a female to go working on ships or any male-dominated industry, and they would think about their families, and they would question about having relationships, having getting married and having children. But as we advance into the technological world, it will make it much easier for them to have families. Because one thing, females are multitaskers. We can do so many things at once. We can run our families, we can run our household, we can run a company. We can do these things, right? So as the world changes and more technology comes aboard, it will make it much easier for us to multitask easier, and it will be more attractive to them. And if they're allowed to hold these higher positions also, because Jamaica tends to be a matriarchal country, not by our own doing or our choice. It's just what has existed. Yeah, in my family, there are lots of matriarchs, not by choice, but you know, that's just the way it is. And if we have to run our household, we have to hold these high positions so we can manage our household and be able to support our families the best way that we can. So, yeah.
All right, Sheba, all I can say is I'm really pleased you managed to dial back in again, because that was fascinating to hear your views there. Hortense, yes. you had your hand up. You wanted to make a comment. Thank you,
Yes,
Sheba. Come on.
Yes, because as a former seafarer myself, I feel very passionate about how we move forward. The growth and evolution of the industry is such that today we need to focus more on recruitment and retention. How we retain those we already have in the industry, and how do we change our method of recruitment? And we're talking about recruitment into education and training institution, and also recruitment on board ships. It is not so much a career at sea, it is a career on board ship, because that's your working environment, that's your office. We are sure we have brick and mortar. At sea, you have the ship. So how do we create that environment that is attractive to female? So you have to look at how you recruit, or you prepare them and sensitize them to what is expected. What are the career pathways available that they can also transition from being on board to ashore. And when you bring that dual perspective to your job ashore, you add so much more value to what you have to give to your company and your community and your country. So I think there needs to be policy changes. And we need to also speak to and appeal to men, because men tend to discourage women from going to sea. This is 30, 40 years later. How do we appeal to that sense to say, listen, wherever you have female in the mix, the companies are doing much better. We have examples. We have many success stories, both ashore and on board ship. We need to create the message in a holistic way to appeal to our husbands, our fiancés, our male counterpart, to get them to buy in, because when you get the support from the male, then I think we'll move a little faster. We'll be able to move the needle from 2% to at least 5 or 10. And that's where we want to go to keep moving. So that's my contribution on that aspect of it.
Before I bring in Carrie Ann, I'm going to bring in Cora and just get your views on this here, because I think this is quite a crucial thing. And I think when you're answering the point, Cora Ann, if you can give an idea also with the role that the IMO can play and the international community can play to try and help to make, you know, that transition a lot easier, to actually move that needle, as Hortense says, from 2 up to 5 or 6%. But do you have any comments you can add in on this, Cora?
What Hortense said was very important, in that women want a balance in life. So we need the support from our male counterparts and our family members. But what can be done from an administrative perspective? I think it is important that if we can sensitize that these programs are there and that we need women in these roles, and that we promote it as being an acceptable and something that, you know, women can make good careers from. I remember before the pandemic, you know, I'm on the board of the Caribbean Maritime University, and they have played a great role in going to the schools in Jamaica. And when they would go to the schools in Jamaica, they would take with them seafarers, female seafarers, to promote the various courses that they had. I mean, the last one that I attended, it was actually at the CMU out at Palisadas, and they set up a tent, and on the panelists had a number of seafarers, women seafarers, speaking and promoting the profession. And what they did is that they had brought young women from the schools in the country. They bussed them in to give them that opportunity to listen. Because, you know, somebody in Clarendon or in Westmoreland, where you're not near to the port, you may be near to the sea, and your father and your uncles, they may be fishermen, but you are at school, so you're not seeing that they are women in a different role. What the CMU did, and we haven't been able to do it recently because of the pandemic, they brought these young women into various centers to promote that to them. And I think Jamaica needs to do more of that. I think we must do it from the MAJ. We support the CMU, and we have a good synergy. So if we can promote it at that level, we will get more women and more young women involved and seeing it as a viable profession. Yeah. The IMO supporting us because, you know, the Women in Maritime Initiative, and they support us from that area, but we need more support.
I've actually changed what I was going to say like 4 times because I have a ream of things to contribute, but I just want to actually now tack on to what Cora Ann said. Using my own experience. Now, I know I had a lot of stuff on my CV and you really couldn't go through everything, but I am one of the few people globally who has attended both or 2 of the IMO international organizations. I went to IMLI in Malta, International Maritime Law Institute, where I got my LLM, my Master's in Law. But I also went to WMU in Malmö, Sweden, where I got my MSc in Maritime Administration and Environmental Protection, as the qualification was called at the time. Those 2 opportunities presented themselves because I fit a demographic. The IMO at the time was actively trying to reach out to women below 40, so you'd have an extended work life after you've gotten the qualification, and from so-called developing countries. were it not for the incentivization, the provision of scholarships between the IMO, IMLI, WMU, and their various sponsor countries, their various sponsor organizations, were it not for that sort of synergistic relationship and the decision, the clear and active decision to target a particular demographic, women below a certain age in developing countries, I probably would not have had the opportunity to delve as deeply into shipping and maritime affairs as I did. And so that is the addition, to Cora Ann's point and to Hortense's point, that we need to have. The incentivization of that specific demographic that's going to push that is what's going to move the needle from 2% to higher. There is an example in our corporate governance landscape here in Jamaica where there's a push to try and have a minimum 40% female or women on any board, any government board. Now, there are those who have criticized that and said, oh, it's very performative. You know, why are you, just trying to fill a thing with women? Why are you not reaching for the best person in the room? But what that shows is an underdeveloped understanding of some of the challenges that still face women in every field, including the maritime field. And that is, there are some rooms that are considered an old boys club. Yes, of course, you can come to the vice president status, but, our chairman and our director need to be men. Now, when you have something like this, where you have a directive that you need to find 4 out of your 10, at least, who are women, it then becomes aspirational. And you'd be surprised that when there is something to aspire towards, people actually do it. So you might have actively been looking for the best person who also happened to be female. But once that's on the table, the women start applying, you suddenly start seeing women that you'd never noticed before. Oh, this lady is X and Y and Z. Why haven't we spoken to her? We have to be, Jamaica and the international community needs to continue developing aspirational and incentivized spaces. And that is how you are going to pull women into the mix. That's how you're going to expand widen the net of who you're able to draw in.
Very, very, very wise words. I just, as you rightly say, it is aspirational. And I think, when you set yourself that target of 40%, you do have to have, it gives you that opportunity to actually go out there and get it done rather than just ticking that box. I'm going to bring in Sheba. Because we can't see you, you maybe can't stick a hand up. Have you got any comments you want to add, Sheba?
Yes, so the saying goes that behind every successful man, there's a strong woman. And so there shouldn't be the thought in any male's head in these positions to think that we are coming to take over and we're feminist and all of those things. We just want to help support you and support the maritime industry to make it more successful, make it better. And our contribution will play a great part in it. There are things in the industry that you won't readily see, and having our support, you will be able to see that and make it better.
I just want to say 2 things in that, Jamaica has been a leader in the region, in our Caribbean region. Our women have been leaders, and we are looked at, and we will continue to lead in that direction and give the encouragement to other Caribbean women to strive to become the president of the Caribbean Shipping Association, like I did so many years ago, to strive to be the chairman of the maritime body in whatever territory you're in. You know, the MAJ as a focal point for the IMO, we will continue to push leadership, and we will continue to lead the region. And as I said before, you know, Claudia Grant is definitely a beacon and a shining star to the region and the world, and she is ours. And, you know, the influence that she has on the region and the world is second to none. You know, we are very proud of her, and we're proud of what it is that the role that we have played in leadership, in guidance of women in Jamaica. And then there's also Jody Monbaro, which, you know, she is very, very important in the CMOU. And, you know, everybody knows her. And that is something that's very important.
Bring in some questions just for the next 10 minutes or so, because we've got some good questions coming in. Kevin Dingley has asked, the issue of gender equality should be a given in the democratic and civilized world, and Jamaica is living proof of that. But do you therefore agree that women should qualify for positions strictly on their own merits and not because of the imposition of any quotas, i.e. tick box? Who would like to answer that question? Hortense, do you want to have a go at answering that one?
Sure. We have demonstrated that it is competency that drives our selection to any position as a female. I made the point earlier that you will recruit a male because of his potential, but you're going to recruit a female because of her experience and track record. That's not equity there. Yet when we are given the opportunity, we have demonstrated time and time again that we can deliver and have been delivering. So yes, it's a quota to inspire and to encourage, but at the end of the day, what matters is your ability to deliver, to produce, and we have been.
Yeah.
So it is just a target that is set, knowing that you will encourage more female to participate in the process. And once we do that, you'll see the result in terms of the bottom line for companies and country.
And I think that's right. I think it goes back to what Carrie Ann was saying about aspirational and also incentivizing, you know, it opens it up for people to see it as a career. There's another question here from, well, let me just move this up a bit, from Nuri Sanchez from Panama City in Panama. I'm a female in the maritime sector for over 20 years. I know how difficult it is for a woman to move in the sector without sacrificing what it is to be a wife or a mother. But she wants to hear from you. Which one could be the better approach to inspiring young girls to select a career path in maritime? And how can we cooperate with educational institutions to support girls from an early age? And I think that's a very, very important point that's been made there. It goes back to that whole issue of raising awareness, educating people about shipping as a career, full stop. But Carrie Ann, do you want to have a comment on that? Yeah.
Yes, I actually would. Hi, our friend from Panama. Just to let you know, I am married. I've been married for over 21 years, and I have 4 children. And that has not impeded me in any way at all, because once there is an expectation that this is what you do, then there are systems in place, certainly for me, that assist you. So there's an old expression that says, that asks if women can have it all. Yes, you absolutely can have it all, but sometimes you might not have it all at the same time, right? So it requires you, if you want to have everything, you need to manage your time. It does not mean that you deny yourself opportunities, especially when you're young. I heard, our panelists speaking about the adventure that shipping is. It absolutely is an adventure, but there is space in the shipping industry, in the maritime world, for all players. There is space in all industries if you have the appropriate support systems around you. And the support systems are not only systems that come from your family or from your social environment, but also support systems that are provided at work. you know, and there are many. I don't have time to get into details, but, you know, research shows that things like assistance with childcare or having that built into a package, maternity and paternity leave, all of these things sort of counterintuitively increase productivity. You know, it makes no sense to try and eliminate 50% of your working population, you know, because there's an expectation that at some point they will start a family. I understand the difficulty and I understand the perception, but I am here as living proof that if you have the appropriate systems around you, nationally, at the corporate level or your company level, and at your personal level, you are able to achieve it all.
Marianne, what a lovely point to end on. It's been a tremendous debate. I mean, you always know when you have a good debate when the time flies, and I can't believe that we've been chatting away for you know, over an hour and 10 minutes now. So I would like to thank all the delegates who've come in and listened and for the questions that we sent forward. But a big thank you to our panelists today. It's a very, very important subject, absolutely. And a round of applause to all of you. Really important subject. I've found the debate fascinating today, absolutely fascinating, and certainly look forward to a number of the strands being developed you know, in the months forward as we're going. I think these sort of webinars are so important and so crucial to actually airing these things, and to have the mixture of views that we've had has been superb. So panelists, thank you very, very much indeed for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. I thoroughly enjoyed our practice sessions as well. Sheba, thank you for still hanging on and getting in there. Your views and your comments were greatly received, and I do appreciate it. And
my pleasure, my pleasure.
And thank you very much indeed. And we look forward to Jamaica getting back onto, or getting onto the IMO Council for 2022, 2023. So we look forward to that. And thank you very much indeed, everybody.